On behalf of the International Institute of New England, welcome to the 2021 International Women's Day virtual event.
The International Institute of New England's Refugee Resettlement Program is a unique program. We have the opportunity to secure housing for refugees, to meet them and their families at the airport, to set up their basic needs, and to welcome them to New England. Safina and her family were welcomed to Lowell by IINE, and Sabine was her caseworker. Now Safina is one of our valued colleagues.
Hi, Safina.
Hi, Sabine.
So, can you please tell us about your experience being resettled by the agency?
It was an amazing experience. I still remember it was around 2 a.m. I arrived at my parents' home, and my father told me, get some rest because tomorrow Sabine is coming, who is your case manager.
Yeah, I remember when we were searching for an apartment for you, and your dad especially make sure that we find an apartment that is close to him, so in order for him to help you with childcare. So now, I know you start as a client and then interpreter, and then now you become a staff. So tell us about that.
I was thinking I will not get a job. That was a negative thing in my mind because I was pregnant and I had like 2 kids. But when I received the first time your call, you told me we are recruiting a position in interpreter. If you are interested to join, that was a different feeling. I cannot express it. I was very happy, and you told me it will be over the phone or it will be in person, and it's a part-time, so whenever you are available, we can do that. Whenever I'm coming here, I feel like to be coming in home. It's amazing, always working with you. It's very nice, and I enjoy it very much.
Each of us always find a way to bring a smile to our face, and then we always value everything we do, which is really good. And you can come up to a different world, but by working together, we can become one, so which is really good.
Safina, thank you so much for sharing your story of resettling here in Boston with your family. Stories are personal and they teach us resilience. It's generous of you to share it, and it's also inspiring to hear how Sabine and IINE were with you every step of the way when you arrived. Hi, everyone. Welcome to International Institute of New England's first ever virtual International Women's Day celebration. I am Tiziana Deering, host of WBUR's Radio Boston, and happy to be with you today as we celebrate the role of women immigrants and refugees in our economy and in our society. We're also going to celebrate 3 wonderful honorees today: Roxanne Cook of JP Morgan Chase, Catherine Knauf of Moderna, and Kanika Soni of TripAdvisor. Looking forward to bringing you an exciting panel discussion with them a little later. For now, thank you too to our host committee and co-chairs, Colette Phillips, Kathy Schmidt. Thank you to the IINE for celebrating this important day, International Women's Day, and to all of you for joining us from the comfort and safety of your home. We hope you enjoy the program. Now I'd like to turn it over to the IINE's CEO, Jeff Thielman.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jeff Thielman, the President and CEO of the International Institute of New England. It is a privilege to lead this organization and to welcome you to our International Women's Day celebration. A year ago, 600 of us gathered in person for breakfast at a hotel in the Boston Seaport to honor 3 distinguished women. For many of us, this was the last time we attended a large event. We were days away from the closure of schools, restaurants, and businesses. During the past year, we learned about social distancing and PPE, and we began wearing masks. It has been a challenging and painful year for everyone. I know that some in our audience have lost loved ones to COVID-19. We share your pain and we grieve with you. When the pandemic hit, our team at IINE kept working, moving most of our services to remote delivery. Staff who just weeks earlier were helping people find jobs suddenly found themselves guiding clients through unemployment applications. We quickly created an emergency fund for clients facing food insecurity and eviction. Thanks to generous gifts from many of you, our staff and volunteers provided groceries and emergency rental relief to more than 300 families who did not have enough to eat and who faced the real possibility of not having a place to live. The pandemic has changed every one of us in unique ways. Here at IINE, we hope it has helped communities across the region realize how heroic and critical refugees and immigrants are to our collective well-being. In Massachusetts, 15% of our residents were born outside of the United States, but 60% of our essential frontline workers in this state are immigrants. Many of our clients work in grocery stores, healthcare facilities, warehouses, public safety jobs, and other positions essential to keeping us all safe and secure. International Women's Day is a chance for IINE to highlight the unique services we provide women and girls. As those familiar with our work know, at IINE, we seek out and serve the most at risk within immigrant communities. 50% of those facing displacement worldwide are female. Those who are unaccompanied, pregnant, heads of household, disabled, or elderly are especially vulnerable. As I speak to you today, we have case managers helping adult and child survivors of human trafficking find safety and security. And our employment and education staff are ensuring that mothers in our programming access public benefits, learn English, and find work. Our team helps young, unaccompanied girls fleeing Central American countries reunite safely with family in New England, enroll in school, and receive the legal services and healthcare they need. Our work builds on the resiliency and strength of the women we serve, qualities demonstrated by this year's International Women's Day honorees, Kanika Soni, Catherine Knopf, and Roxanne Cook. Later in this program, you will meet these amazing women who immigrated to the United States and made their mark in their chosen fields. We thank the moderator of our panel, Tiziana Deering of WBUR's Radio Boston, for leading a lively dialogue with Kanika, Catherine, and Roxanne that I know you will enjoy. Congratulations as well to State Street Corporation, the recipient of our Corporate Citizenship Award this year. I want to thank our board of directors, the host committee for today's event, and our co-chairs, Kathy Schmidt of McLean Middleton and Colette Phillips of Colette Phillips Communications. I also want to thank everyone who has contributed and who will give today. Your gifts make our work possible. Finally, I want to offer my deep gratitude to our staff who worked tirelessly to put on this event. Our thanks to all of you for being part of today's celebration. It is now my privilege to introduce the next segment of our event, highlighting one of our most important skills training programs, which to no one's surprise has a majority of women participants.
In 2017, the International Institute of New England developed a certified nursing assistance program. The program today is more popular than ever, and over the last 12 months has become even more important. We train English language learners to become frontline healthcare service workers.
I like to study because, USA gives all immigrants the possibility to learn, to educate. It's the reason why I start to do of the CNA. I continue to learn.
The program is run in 3 modules, 10 students in each cohort, with the nursing assistant support with the ESL instructor, and that could also be offered online. We were very lucky. We were able to do hands-on skills here at the Middlesex Community College lab. There are two laboratories, so we could divide the class and have 5 students in each. Middlesex Community College was able to partner with Wingate of Haverhill so they could provide the hands-on clinical skills with the residents, and so they were able to get that.
The most part I loved in the class, you interact with the residents and all clients, like you be part of them. Yeah.
The International Institute also provides employment support to the clients that graduate. The goal really is to provide a pathway from an ESL program into a skills training that leads to a certification.
I need to join CNA program because I need help people.
I get more knowledge about taking care of residents and my husband, and so I feel happy, and I believe my future will be beautiful.
It's fantastic to see just how CNA program participants like Kwan are so hopeful for the future. We all want that kind of hope. And IINE plays a huge role in ensuring that Kwan, Bimsarani, Annette, Immaculate, and all their colleagues are confident in their English-speaking abilities and they're ready to enter the workforce. Now, I'd like to introduce Colette Phillips. Colette is the CEO of CPC Communications. She is a dedicated supporter of IINE, and this year, she is the host committee co-chair. Colette, welcome.
Thank you, Tiziana. It's great to be here. My name is Colette Phillips, and on behalf of the host committee, I want to thank all of you for joining us today to celebrate International Women's Day, albeit virtually. I am so thankful to take part in today's program. To me, International Women's Day is an opportunity for everyone across the globe to take stock of the important role women play in society and celebrate our already vast and growing achievements. And today's celebration highlights the unmistakable and vital contributions of women, refugees, and immigrants. Today, on this special day, IINE looks to you for support and partnership. Please take the opportunity to contribute to this incredible organization. Your donation will give refugee and immigrant women and their families access to job training, to learning English, resettling, and really putting down roots here in New England. On your screen, you will see a number to text to give. Please text IWD 21 to 44321, or you can visit our website at iine.org/donate and make a donation today. Any amount makes a difference in the lives of thousands of refugees and immigrants who turn to IINE for support. Thank you so much. Now back to Tiziana and our great, engaging, interactive panel.
It's so great to be interviewing the three of you. I'm very much looking forward to our discussion together. To start, I'd love to read briefly your bios so that everybody knows the wisdom and the experience that you're bringing to our conversation. So first we have Roxanne Cook, who's the New England and Pennsylvania Managing Director of Consumer Banking for JP Morgan Chase. Excuse me while I read this part. During the COVID-19 economic crash, JP Morgan Chase was the #1 lender of paycheck protection loans and has continued to expand storefronts in communities of color throughout the shutdown. As Managing Director of Consumer Banking in New England, Roxanne Cook has been on the front lines of Chase's outreach to low-income neighborhoods. A native of Jamaica, Roxanne moved to Dorchester when she was young and now leads as Chase's Managing Director of Consumer Banking in New England and Philadelphia. Ms. Cook has been on the front lines of Chase's outreach to low-income and immigrant neighborhoods. Nice to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you. Thank you.
Catherine Knauf is Vice President of Project Management at Moderna, where she worked on the team manufacturing the company's COVID-19 vaccine. During the time after the virus was first discovered, she led activities across manufacturing, quality, and technical development to organize a successful start in addressing what would become a pandemic disease and ramp up of the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine production. An immigrant from Germany, Catherine formerly worked at Novartis in technical operations, leading large manufacturing teams. In 2020, Catherine became concerned by rising nationalism and political hostility to foreigners. Nervous about securing her US citizenship, she accelerated her application, renounced her German citizenship, and was naturalized as a US citizen in December, the same month. The Moderna COVID-19 vaccine was granted emergency use authorization by the FDA. Good to meet you, Catherine. And Kanika Soni. A longtime executive in technology and media, Kanika Soni exemplifies the ingenuity that women from immigrant families bring to their fields. Before serving as Chief Commercial Officer at TripAdvisor, where she is now, Ms. Soni was head of global digital marketing at Tesla and then SVP of global e-commerce at Disney before moving to Massachusetts in 2019. The COVID-19 shutdowns have highlighted immigrants' roles in the hospitality industry at all levels. Raised in a refugee family herself, Ms. Soni has a unique perspective on how foreign-born people and refugees participate at all levels to respond to the crisis. A passionate advocate for refugees and immigrants, she was influenced at a young age by her grandparents who escaped from the riots in Pakistan during the partition of India. Kanika, welcome to you too.
Thank you.
So I thought I would begin by asking you each to spend a couple of minutes answering the same question, then we'll see where we go from there. So Roxanne, I think I'll start with you. And the question is there a moment from this past year, this life of pandemic in the last year, that has set in relief for you some part of your own immigrant story or your own immigrant experience? Roxanne, why don't you go first?
Great question. And that just really brought me back. I came here at the age of 10, and what this COVID and similarities to my experience traveling was about resiliency, was about change, was about pivoting and coming to something new. And how do I embrace that? And so during the pandemic, we had to experience all of that. It was change. It was how do you pivot? It was leaving the familiar and embracing the unfamiliar, but doing that through networking. And so that's how we had to do it, was together. And coming here to the United States, it was that family feeling, right? There was this feeling of isolation when I first left, leaving the familiar, but embracing this new and agreeing that this is this new normal that I'm going to embrace and identify how to maybe move forward, but move forward together and reach out and seek resources and help and assistance to be able to help me on this new way. And that's the story that I've shared with my team, right? We're going to do this together. We're all in this new. And how do we learn together? How do we identify strengths together? And how do we support each other in this different environment? And that's similar to the environment that I came from and transitioned, right? It's that pivot, it's that vulnerability. There were periods of vulnerability where I wasn't afraid to say, I don't know, right? Or I wasn't afraid to say, I'm not okay, and have my team understand that. And then we work through it together. So very, very similar circumstances that really brought me back to when I was 10 years old and coming here to the United States.
Thank you, Roxanne. Kanika, why don't I go to you next and invite you to answer the same question?
Sure. The COVID in my mind, right, has just been devastating in so many ways for so many people. Families have lost loved ones, people have lost their jobs, and parents have been pushed to limit, pushed to the limits, right? Really trying to juggle between work and kids at home, not to mention how isolating this pandemic has been and how this past 1 year has felt for all of us. You know, when I think about the economic impact of this pandemic, right, that's a completely different question. And I can tell you, just having worked in the hospitality industry, it's just, I mean, it's been unpleasant to stand on the sidelines and actually see this pandemic unfold in this industry, right? We've been hit the hardest for sure. Last time I looked at stats, I think 45 to 50% of the people in this industry have lost their jobs. And in an industry where 1 out of 3 workers is actually an immigrant, right? I can't even begin to imagine the challenges that this pandemic has sort of posed and unleashed on that population. And TA, in a lot of ways, has not been an exception to the rule, right? Like we went through our own version of a workforce reduction in April and May, and that was hard to watch. A portion of the people who lost their jobs and who were impacted were on H-1B visas. And I remember at the moment, right, just feeling horrible guilt. As I looked at the list, I knew in that moment we weren't just putting someone out of a job, we were fundamentally changing the course of someone's life, right? This is a group of, these are people who've come to the US in search of economic opportunity. They have done everything by the book. They've worked really hard to get to where they are in their lives. And now we're basically asking this group of people to pack up their bags and go home, right? Unless they can find a job that meets all the criteria of the H-1B visa requirements and do it all very quickly, because that's the law, right? I remember, talking to the HR teams about this, trying to see if there was something unique we could do, if there was something different we could do for this group so that they, would get to keep their status and they wouldn't have to give up everything that they had spent their entire life building. And sure, as the company, we provided outplacement services, right? We gave them immigration counsel, but I don't know if that's enough. There's a part of me that that made that experience so real for me, because 10 years ago, I would have been in that boat, right? I'm not going through this pandemic. I got naturalized last year. I'm lucky enough to say that. So I didn't have to worry about that, even if I lost my job. So I think there's a part of me that just wishes that our policies were flexible. I wish they were more humane. And there's a part of me that wishes that policymakers take that into account and think about the implications of these broad sweeping mandates that just could change someone's life in seconds.
Thank you. And Catherine.
Yeah, I think for me, I would second a lot what Roxanne said. It's jumping in and trying to figure it out. Like when you come here, I remember when they called me and said, hey, there's a job in the US, would you consider it? And I literally made a 30-second decision and said, sure, I go, I try this. And then I stood at the airport, and that was my first international flight ever. I was 28 years old, and I'm like, okay, I moved to America. That was a happy example. The pandemic certainly is not, but I think some of those skills of just getting stuff done, figuring it out, and just going with that, and in some ways enjoying the journey of learning something new. And then the piece that you also highlighted was collaboration. So I think for me, obviously the project around the vaccine was certainly the biggest and most challenging I've done in my career up to now, but it's also the most rewarding. And the collaboration, not just within the company and having really a great team who wants to go above and beyond every day and wants to fight this, but doing it beyond with other vendors, with the government, like everybody was so in to really, it showed me that if everybody's in, you can achieve everything you want to, even if it seems impossible. If you would have told me in February, March that we do have a vaccine at the end of the year, I probably would be like, yes, we give it our best try. But it was made possible because there were so many great people really dedicating everything they have to it.
So there are so many common themes in what I'm hearing from the three of you, and everything from your ability to pivot, to move quickly, to respond, to feel compassion around the challenge, to recognize from your own lived experience what other people are going through in this pandemic. It makes me kind of want to ask you, so you're powerful women. I mean, you're being honored here because you are powerful women, powerful in your field, powerful in your presence, powerful in your experience. What's a way that the last year has called you to be of service? And how have you found and used your power as women to do that? In the room, I would be able to tell automatically who was ready to answer first. It's a little harder on the screen, but I see a twinkle in your eye, Roxanne, so I think I might come to you and see if you have an answer there.
You know, it's that lived experience, right? Knowing that it's leading through compassion and empathy and understanding that people have lives outside of the profession, and you have to, encourage them to bring their authenticity, encourage your team to say it's not okay or to ask for help. It's some of those pieces, right, where you're vulnerable, where I shared moments of vulnerability and made it okay for them to share those moments of vulnerability. And then we leaned in together to figure it out together, right? And it's bringing their whole selves to work. But it's also advocating. It's also after you hear and you're leaning in and you're on the front lines, right? There are 700 employees, and I call them 700 lives who are impacted by decisions that we make every day. Those are my immediate direct reports, but that cascades out to the community and to others. So I don't take that lightly. Every day that I come to work, it's with this servant leadership, servant leadership mindset. And I'm here to serve, and I'm here to listen, and they're part of the solutions. And when they raise something, I bring it to senior leadership, and I'm that voice at the table when they may not be at the table. And we make real changes, right? And we had to make a lot of changes during that 1 year as we were listening and changing and listening and moving quickly. But it's coming from that portion and that leadership, that empathetic piece where you're leaning in and listening. And if you lead with empathy and understanding what's happening outside your four walls, that it's going to impact what's happening within your four walls. And if you come from that approach, then you know you have power in your voice, and you, I think, encourage them to have power in their voice as well. So it's not about title, it's not about position, it's what each of us brings, and letting them know and building their confidence, right? And lowering their anxiety so that they know that they each bring something to the table, because we were intentional about hiring the talent that we bring on. And we want to make sure that there is power in their voice and they're amplifying that power. My job is to make sure I continue to elevate that, build confidence, and the magic happens, as we say here, right? And that's what's been happening.
Catherine, I saw a lot of nodding.
Yes, I can definitely very much connect with the message around vulnerability. I mean, through the last year, I can definitely tell you I had my moments when I got very emotional. And I think that is part of being authentic. And I think that authenticity will show. What I would also say what it was about for me was just sharing knowledge. We have been growing so rapidly. We've been bringing on so many new people that it really is, how can you take the extra 5 minutes to just be like, oh, you can find this here, you can find it there, because it's so much quicker and more efficient than them trying to search through the web and find where they can find things. So I think really sharing knowledge as much as possible. I get a lot of energy out of having mentees in the workforce that say, hey, I liked XYZ, and how did you do this? And again, that's just about sharing knowledge and helping others on the way.
Kanika, is there anything you would add?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think both of them did an amazing job of answering that. Maybe one addition to that would be, as a leader, right, I've had to search deep inside, right, to provide hope in the midst of a year, which was just so challenging, right? I mean, and I can't say that this was unique to TripAdvisor or the travel industry, right? Industries across the board have been hit really hard. Companies have been hit. People have had to make some very tough decisions. And coming into work every day, trying to, look at your teams that have been cut by half in some cases, and telling them to, smile, motivate themselves, and keep fighting the good fight when they are working as hard as they are, and the scoreboard on a day-to-day basis doesn't reflect that, right? The numbers don't show that, but you sort of have to keep reminding people that there is light at the end of the tunnel. You have to figure out as a leader how to dig deep in to actually give them hope, because if you don't see it, then others around you are not going to see it. And I think that's probably for me been the hardest part of last year, and finding that right balance between recognizing the challenges that we are all facing, openly talking about it, right? Acknowledging that dialogue, telling people that it is a safe environment, giving them the opportunity to express the fears that they're feeling, the challenges that they're facing at home, trying to manage kids, trying to manage work, and creating an environment where people can truly come to you and talk about what they need to get through this year, and at the same time giving them hope and sort of pointing them in the direction, and letting them know that they're working as a company, right? As lots of companies, lots of industries right now are working towards building that better future so that we can all come out on the other side of COVID feeling stronger, looking stronger. And as we do that, how do we come together as a team, collaborate and support each other, and really just sort of help each other get through to the other side?
What are the three of you thinking about, any of the three of you thinking about, around the challenges that we are seeing for women in employment and maintaining employment, in juggling child education, child care, family care, maybe older adult care, remote schooling, job stresses, et cetera? Are you seeing that in your industries? Is it something that you've thought about and tried to tackle in your own work with your teams? Anybody's welcome.
Yeah, I'll just say the statistics has been showing, right, that this has impacted women the most in terms of what will the future of the workforce look like as women predominantly are making that decision that they're going to focus on family first. And so what companies like my company has to do is think about those family-friendly benefits and those environments where now, right, you have that balance of being able to work remotely. And so are we putting in processes where they have the ability to do that? You know, there's been so many meetings that we have now, or Zoom meetings, where you see the family pop in on the Zoom screen. And we encourage that, right, because we want to make sure that no one is feeling as if they have to choose between work and choose between family. Right? How do we help them and provide benefits and those family-friendly pieces to be able to support that? And I know a lot of companies are grappling with that because we know how beneficial and instrumental women are in the workforce. So we don't want to lose out on this talent. And so companies have to be mindful and intentional about how do we think about the future of the workforce to make sure that we are supporting these women who are trying to choose and navigate, and how do we provide the resources and the tools to help them to do that?
had a thought and now I forgot.
When you think of it, just jump back in. Kanika, anything you want to add to that?
Like I think, it's the same challenge, right? Across the board, we have certainly seen women getting impacted by this a lot more than, and a lot more than men. And whether that is because sometimes women get stereotyped as the primary caregiver in the family, right? So when the situations come to its head and people have had to come and be at home, I've seen, people on my team have said, yeah, like my wife has taken 3 months off of work to help deal with this, right? We can't afford the kind of childcare. So we've had to make some trade-off decisions, and this is where we've landed. And that's been heartbreaking to see, right? And I think it is about, I totally agree with the sentiment, right? It is about providing families the tools and the processes and the care and the benefits to help get through this so that, we don't come out on the other side of COVID saying we've lost the few women that we do have sometimes working in these successful positions, or women who are trying to manage their family commitments and their work and balance it out, right? It's our job to support those women through this and make sure that they come out on the other side and they're there with us, right?
And Tiziana, I'll just say, I'll chime in to say, when there are women like myself and others who are in that position, who have to balance that we speak about it, where people don't feel, or other women don't feel like they're in this alone. And so I think senior leaders have to share those same challenges and saying, here's what I'm doing about it. And others will not feel isolated because we are going through similar pieces. I'll speak for myself, that there is that balance and that delicate balance. And you put it out on the table where people don't feel, or other women don't feel like this is just me, because it's not, right? We're all grappling with the same piece. And that might give them hope to say, I'm going to hang in there and hang in the workforce, because there will be organizations and senior leader women who understands.
And I'll actually build on that. And I totally agree that I think this is about senior women, like sort of leading by example, right? And sort of sharing what they're going through and the challenges, because it creates an opportunity and an environment for people to share their challenges as well. There's a part of me that always encourages people to speak up. If you've got challenges, your manager is not going to be aware of those challenges. They don't know what you're going through until you actually go and tell them, right? Here is the problem that you're facing. You come up with a solution. And then I would hope to God that the manager that you're with, right, is empathetic and they will bend over backwards to make it work for you. But I do think there is a little bit about people feeling comfortable and people sort of designing, this is the new reality. This is the world that we're living in, right? And it's probably another, 4, 5, 6 months before we all get vaccinated. And so it is going to stay as is. So to the extent, hopefully the worst is behind us, I would say, but to the extent that you can figure out what works for you and what makes you balance your work commitments and your personal commitments, and you can share that path and that solution with your managers, right? And then hold them accountable for helping you navigate through those challenges. It is their job. So, it's a little, I think sort of the responsibility falls on both sides. And I really hope that, everyone is coming to the table contributing.
And I think just realizing the data too, right? So I think for me, I knew we had more work to do, but I thought we had made progress in that arena. But I think the data just, for me, it felt almost like seeing a step backwards versus where we were before. And I think recognizing that, and that we're not there yet, and that there's just more work to be done on all fronts. And yes, it is speak up, it is listening, it is proactively just making, where we can make selections, be mindful of it, what we're choosing as well.
So believe it or not, we're starting to come towards the end of our time. So one, maybe two more questions. So the first one, the one I found myself thinking repeatedly in listening to the three of you is, how are you filling your own cups? What are you doing to take care of yourselves? And what is keeping you going during this challenging time?
I will happily start with that one. And that is, I'm right now actually on a 3-month sabbatical, and that was something that was planned for quite some time. And believe me, it was a very hard decision as to at what point in time am I saying, okay, I'm going to stay on for this long, and then I'm going to take that break, because it felt very selfish to leave the team behind and just go. But it got to a point for me where I'm like, okay, now is the right time. I felt I have gotten and helped the team as far as I could. But yeah, just at times, just completely stepping away and then coming back with fresh energy.
I think for me, it's been sort of this realization, right? Which I don't think this is how the pandemic started out for me. Believe it or not, I actually had an international trip planned right when COVID broke out. I pushed out I was traveling through Singapore and I actually pushed it out, saying, once this is over in 3 or 4 weeks, I'll just resume life, right? And that never happened, clearly. At some point during this pandemic, it was this realization that, look, this isn't going away. It's about making the most of the cards that we've been dealt and figuring out how to build, how to find happiness in the small things in life, right now in our day-to-day, and how to not let this get in the way of life, right? I was supposed to get married last year, and I pushed out the wedding a couple of times, and eventually I said, screw it, right? And I ended up having a wedding. I got married bang in the middle of the pandemic. The wedding was nothing close to what I'd actually envisioned my entire life, but I'm glad I did it. It was perfect for what it was. And I didn't let COVID sort of push it out any more than my life had already come to a halt.
Congratulations. I love that. And, for me, I think, what I did to unplug prior to COVID is every year I'm intentional about taking time to go back to Jamaica and just recenter myself and re-energize and refocus and think about my foundation. And I haven't been able to do that. And so, I would save my vacation to go. And this year or last year, I said, okay, I have all this vacation time. I'm going to take my vacation. A vacation doesn't necessarily mean traveling. And so I did. And I'm intentional about just unplugging when I'm on vacation. And that shows your team that you trust them, that they're going to operate in your absence. So I unplug and I totally focus on family. So my husband and my mom and my 2 daughters, and we may do day trips. Or we may just go take a hike in the mountains, right? And look at nature. But it's finding those moments of happiness, finding those moments where you can just smile and think about what matters most. So for me, it's about being intentional around sleep, right? Around just re-energizing myself, whether it's meditation, whether it's exercising, it's pouring into myself or reading or watching mindless TV. We did a lot of that during my vacation where we just laughed at nothing. So it's important to be able to do that, to unplug, to refresh, to re-energize. And it doesn't have to be a vacation where it's planned out, where you're traveling the world. You can stay on your living room couch and travel the world, whether it's through social media, whether it's through picking up the phone and calling a family or friend in those countries that you are from. And so for me, I'm intentional about just really unplugging and focusing on me. That's where I'm going to be selfish and be kind to myself. And that has been just the piece around being grateful and having gratitude for life, right? Because we saw last year that tomorrow is not promised. We can plan for tomorrow, but we have to live for today. That's what my 2 daughters, and I call them my sheroes, that's what they try to encourage me to do every single day. Plan for tomorrow, but really live for today.
Well, it has been energizing and inspiring to speak with the 3 of you, Roxanne Cook, Kanika Soni, and Catherine Knauf. Thank you so much and congratulations on your much deserved honor today. Thanks so much to Roxanne, Catherine, Kanika. What a fantastic conversation. What an opportunity to learn from you, your wisdom, your experience. And again, thank you for sharing your stories. Now I'd like to introduce another remarkable woman, Aruna Sharma, who joins us today to share how the International Institute of New England helped her attain U.S. citizenship just in time for the 2020 election.
Almost all of the people that IINE serves are in need of immigration legal services. We provide professional and affordable services, including green cards, family reunification services, and naturalization services. We believe that we're able to meet our mission when we can help someone become a U.S. citizen.
So I came to the United States in 1990 to share my culture in summer camp as an exchange visitor. After finishing up my assignment, I got an opportunity to go to Northeastern University and study electrical engineering. I never envisioned myself to live in the United States, but one thing led to another. I got married, I had my son, and then I also went through a very, very devastating personal experience of divorce. And through that, I learned a lot about American society, American culture. And in 2017, I lost my mom back home. And I lost my father and felt like kind of orphan. I reflected my life back, and it turned out that I live here more than I live there. And then that kind of opened up my eyes. And with the COVID and all the thing going on politics, I needed to say, I also belong here, and I want America to be a respectful country, an example for the world, for humanity and freedom. And so I feel like I needed to vote. I chose to work with IINE through my citizenship is because I believe that IINE has a passion to work for immigrants and immigrant community to help them without the condition of economic benefits. And to me, that is a big part of it. So I thought that this would be a great opportunity for me to grow with my son in America by giving our voice to the community. And I really wanted to vote this time, to be heard of what we wanted America to be, which is a great country in the world.
Aruna's story is so inspiring. I am thrilled she was able to vote in the 2020 election. My name is Kathy Schmidt, and I currently serve as Executive Director and CEO of McLean Middleton Law Firm. I'm very proud to serve as one of the host committee co-chairs for International Women's Day. As you've heard many times today, the work done by the International Institute of New England, also known as IINE, is urgently needed. Today, you learned how 2020 was a particularly difficult year for newcomers, but IINE has been steadfast in its response to changes that affects their clients. During the past year, all of us have relied on essential workers for our health and safety. A majority of these workers nationwide and in our region are immigrants. Yet, many immigrants in our community have also lost jobs and income in the pandemic. As you heard during our panel discussion, local hospitality industry that employs many was particularly hard hit. But thanks to the generous support of the New England donor community, IINE has been able to give direct assistance to hundreds of immigrant and refugee families facing homelessness and food insecurity. But the need to support more and more families has grown exponentially. A successful International Women's Day event will make it possible for IINE to continue to offer education and training that allows immigrants to re-enter and succeed in the workforce as we emerge from this pandemic. IINE relies on contributions from sponsors and individuals like you in order to offer robust programs that help those who turn to IINE to learn English, get good jobs, and begin their lives here in New England. At the bottom of your screen, you'll see a number where you can text to give a donation. Please text IWD21 to 44321, or visit the website at iine.org/donate. Your donation will help refugees and immigrants who need immediate and ongoing assistance. For example, your gift of $5,000 could provide critical resettlement services for a refugee family of 4 during their first few months in the United States. $1,000 could provide legal representation for a family of 4 seeking US citizenship. $500 could provide a month of English language instruction for an IINE adult learner. And $100 could provide personal protective equipment, PPE, for 1 certified nursing assistant trainee. And a donation as small as $50 can provide a warm meal and groceries for an immigrant family facing hard times. To make your donation, text the code IWD21 to 44321, or go online to iine.org/donate. If each of us donates today, we can directly impact thousands of refugees and immigrants who live in Massachusetts and New Hampshire. I ask you to think about the immigrants and refugees you heard from today and those in your own lives, and please be as generous as you can. To donate now, text the code, you know it, IWD21 to 44321 or go to iine.org/donate. Thank you for your commitment to the International Institute of New England. And now, it is my pleasure to introduce a message from our Corporate Citizenship Award recipient, State Street Corporation.
Thank you to the International Institute of New England for naming State Street as the Corporate Citizenship Honoree for this year's International Women's Day celebration, recognizing the achievements of women around the world and here in New England. Central to International Women's Day is the call for gender parity, and we are truly honored for State Street to be recognized as a gender parity leader that is supporting the advancement of women in our company and in the community. As our largest employee resource group with thousands of members throughout the company, our Professional Women's Network advocates for women across the globe to accelerate gender equality, and that's just the start. We're proud of the women we have in senior leadership positions, including the lead director of our board, which is comprised of more than 1/4 women. We've taken actions aimed at reducing the pay gap between men and women, like instituting a global policy to not ask job candidates about their compensation history to ensure equal pay for equal work. We're strengthening our community through the work of State Street Foundation, which is addressing inequities in the field of education and supporting the most vulnerable among us. We're proud that in 2020, for the 5th year, we were chosen for inclusion in the Bloomberg Gender Equality Index, a reference index used by investors to measure gender equality at public companies. And of course, who can forget International Women's Day 4 years ago, when a certain young girl, just 4 feet tall, made an outsized impact as State Street challenged public companies to add more women to their corporate boards. Since the fearless girl arrived on Wall Street, 700 companies have added a female director to their previously all-male boards, with more change to come. Building on our push for gender equity, we are now focusing more closely on racial equity and have recently pushed the companies in our investment portfolio to disclose more details regarding the diversity of their boards and workforces, because we know that diverse organizations perform better, and that benefits us all. We're proud of the steps State Street has taken to advance women in our company and in the community, but there's so much more to be done as we seek to build a more just, equitable world for us all. And that's what we celebrate this International Women's Day.
Thank you, State Street, for your continued work in the community, and congratulations on winning IINE's 2021 Corporate Citizenship Award. That is the end of the event. We want to thank everyone for joining us today, including the honorees again, Roxanne, Catherine, Kanika, the host committee, including host co-chairs Colette Phillips and Kathy Schmidt, all the sponsors, and you, the audience. IINE wants to welcome you to the family and hopes that you'll continue to work to welcome immigrants and refugees and create opportunities that help them succeed. Before you go, IINE is excited to announce the first ever virtual Golden Door Award on April 27th, 2021. It's my pleasure to announce that the Golden Door Award honoree is Reshma Kiwal-Ramani, Chief Executive Officer and President of Vertex Pharmaceuticals. So please do be sure to join that virtual event again on April 27th, 2021. In the meantime, thank you so much for joining us again today.